Hi. Hello. I don't know if you can hear me, but I'll just wing it. Um, so I got the passage number 9. Says analyze passage only using 16: paralysis, corruption, epiphany, attempt, decay, and scrupulous meanness. Uh, just to like summarize it, the little passage is about the scene where the kid is like, he goes to the shop and he's like, oh, like I'm gonna buy the little gift for the girl that I like, the air ruby. And then he goes up to the woman and he sees her flirting with the dudes. And the woman basically acts like she could care less about the kid there who's like there to buy stuff when she's like, her job is to sell to him. And basically, long story short, the boy realizes that like women use like they use themselves in order to like kind of get what they want. And yeah, so the first theory I found was the theme, the attempt on the quote, remembering with difficulty why I had come. I went over to one of the stalls and examined the porcelain vase and flower tea sets. um I chose this one because it's like the boy going into the shop for the journey that the woman that he loved, he's trying to like, I guess like fulfill her or like make her happy or make her like him or something. And he goes to the store for a woman who only has intentions of using him, because like, the attempt is like someone trying to change their situation, but all ultimately ends up in failure. So um he goes to the store and he like tries to buy something, but like nothing happens. Um so when he's like, oh, you should come to the carnival with me, during the story, she's like, oh, I can't, but like, oh, I would like some like jewelry or something like that. So he goes to the place trying to like change that and make her like him. I feel like the author chose this because like it shows how easy like men were able to be, I guess, like wooed, or like how easily they are to like fall into like love or something. And then I found scrupulous meanness in the quote where she's talking with the dudes. She says, "Oh, I never said such a thing. Oh, but you did. Oh, but I didn't. Didn't she say that? Yeah, I heard her. Oh, there's a fib." Okay? And basically, this is the quote where it's scrupulous meanness because it's exaggeration, because when she's talking to the dudes, she's like making herself seem like not dumb, but like you could tell there's like obvious like flirting within there, so that's the exaggerated part. And then it's also a little bit ironic because right after that, her, you got to keep in mind, her whole job is to sell in the store, and when the boy shows up like looking at the stuff, she's like more interested in having the conversation with the dudes than like to sell, to basically do her job. So yeah, and then when she's like, "Oh, can I help you?" He's like, "Oh, no, I'm just looking." And she's like, "Okay," and like fixes something and goes back. So it's kind of like meanness to him, how like she could care less about him and like not really doing the whole thing where like, oh, like you should always be more important for the customer. And I feel like the author put that in order to show how like women used to like, they knew like who they could benefit off, and like they were smarter than like men, because they'd use the men that they could benefit off and stay by them. So like it's how she saw the boy, like she couldn't like gain from him, so she went back to the dudes who weren't even gonna like buy anything. So yeah. And then I found epiphany in the quote, I lingered before her stall, though I knew my stay was useless to make my interest in her wear seem the more real. Then I turned away slowly and walked down the middle of the bazaar. Uh, I chose this as epiphany because, like, this is when the boy realizes, like, I don't mean to put this in, like, bad words, but, like, he's like, damn, like, she doesn't care about me, and I'm trying to, like, sell some stuff. I'm trying to buy some stuff from her, and she's supposed to sell. So, like, um, I feel like here's when he really, like, realizes, like, how women, like I mentioned earlier, how it, like, relates back to it, how women, like, use, they're smart and they, like, know how to, like, use their bodies, and they know how, like, men lust after them, and they use it to get what they want. So he saw the woman, like, trying to use her body to, like, get what she wanted. So he probably, like, assumed at that point, like, oh, the Araby girl that he likes is probably doing the same thing, right? Oh my gosh, it all connects. And I feel like he used that epiphany in order to, like, okay, it's my bad. I thought it stopped recording. I feel like he used the epiphany in order to, like, kind of, like, show how men weren't, like, that stupid. I guess they were kind of stupid because they would fall into, like, more of a temptation than women. But, like, how sooner or later, like, the man would find out if he was being used or not, or, like, if the love was real or not. And decay, gazing up into the darkness, I saw myself as a creature driven and derided by vanity, and my eyes burned with anguish and anger. I chose this as decay because throughout the whole story, he was, like, sort of a, like, hopeful person. Like, you could tell that throughout the whole time. He was like, oh, she probably likes me, or, like, oh, if she doesn't, I'll get her, or something. And right here's when he, like, you could see the real, like, dark turn in his, like, mentality, because he's, like, saying how he's, like, mad at the world, and, like, his eyes are burning with anger. So I feel like that's really when, like, his whole, like, sense of thought, like, takes a turn for the bad. And then paralysis. I lingered before her stall, though I knew my stay was useless to make my interest in her wares seem the more real. Then I turned away slowly and walked down the middle of the bazaar. I think I used this quote for a different one, but I feel like it still ties back because, like, he showed up to that store for a reason, and that was to buy the vase or something for the girl that he liked. And, like, the fact that he went in and how she, like, shunned him out, he was, like, basically, like, frozen, like, stuck. Like, even if he wanted to, like, buy something, he wouldn't be able to, like, make the lady seem like, oh, he wants to buy something, you know? So I feel like that's when, like, he's really stuck in his whole situation. So that's paralysis. And I feel like he used that to show how, like, the innocence, not innocence, but, like, how, like, men, like, if they're, like, trying to do something and, like, they see, like, no, like, kind of, like, response back for them, like, it'll hit them and they'll be like, damn, I shouldn't be doing this, or, like, damn, you know, something like that. And then corruption. Gazing up into the darkness, I saw myself as a creature driven and derided by vanity. My eyes burned with anguish and anger. This ties back with decay. And I feel like it ties back to it because, like, in that last part, in the end of the whole, like, little story, like I said earlier, he, like, loses his whole sense of hope and, like, positivity and all that. So it's, like, super obvious that at the end his whole, like, mentality and way of thinking is corrupted by, like, the women's, like, their use of their sexuality, or, like, how they used to try to, like, get things their way. And as, like, a young boy, because he's, like, a young boy, he doesn't really know about this until just now, like, he figures it out. And maybe it, like, brings up the whole idea how, like, maybe the older men too, they probably know about it, or maybe they don't, but it's just a thought. And yeah, so it's just pretty obvious that his way of like thinking is obscured from the encounter. And yeah, overall, I feel like all these like tie together in a way to like show like how men lose their innocence through like, I guess, kind of like abuse. Like they have to get hit with like a woman. They have to get like hit with the abuse for them to like realize like what the real world would be like, or else they'd just be used for their whole life. Like if this didn't happen to him, he'd probably go on to the next girl and she'd use him, or something like that. So I feel like this all ties in with like men versus women, or like good male versus evil female, or like women's knowledge of sexuality or something like that. And yeah, so that's it. Um, Peace.